Hi. So a couple of weeks ago I was cleaning my car, just using the pressure washer around, etc. And upon doing that and starting it up, the AC didn't seem to work anymore. Now it's an Audi A3 till 2006 year, and it's got the Climatronic, I think they call it, Havoc based system. Now it has an econ button, which is basically you can press it if you don't want the compressor to kick in for air conditioning, so it's kind of like energy saving sort of thing. So yeah, that was sort of stuck on. You couldn't turn it off, and yeah, plugged the laptop in, VCDS and high pressure sensor G65 was supposedly at fault. Now this is it. I got round to eventually managing to change this. Now it took me a while because there was a lot of sort of debate online as to whether or not you could get this sensor off and change it without releasing all the refrigerant in the system, but it does seem to sit on top of a one-way valve. Thankfully the information I was sort of getting was correct. It was a pain in the neck to get off, and unfortunately it did strip. Literally it's taken out some of the threads that were actually on the part it screws on, have ripped off with it. But lucky enough, a new O-ring and the new sensor seems to have gone on fine, and that's working. So I thought we'd take a look at this one. So as I say, this is a high pressure sensor, and I guess it's just basically designed to report back the pressure of the gas in the system, and if there's, if it's under or over, then it will shut off to prevent you from damaging the compressor. So here's a closer look at the device. So it's not very big at all. It's quite a small unit. 3 pins, basically, plus 12 volts, ground and data out. Now on the new sensor, I hooked that up to the oscilloscope to check what it did, and it outputs a sort of square wave signal, pulse width modulated. So that's what it should be doing. This one doesn't do anything, it won't even draw any current. So upon getting it off, it's quite clear to see why it's failed. Somehow it's basically lost a chunk of the metal that sort of surrounds this, and although it doesn't visibly look too bad, I think that water was probably seeping in there. Also the fact that this was so badly corroded on, you can probably see in there where it's actually taken some of the threads off from the part that it fits onto. It may be that water's got up underneath, but I don't know. I suppose the original O-ring that was with it was completely broken down, so it may have been letting water in, but it was obviously still sealing enough to prevent the gas escaping. I couldn't find the exact O-ring easily for it, and the new part doesn't come with one, which really frustrates me. If you've got a part that needs to be fitted and it needs an O-ring, please give us the O-ring. I don't know. So I got a set of different O-rings and found one that seemed to fit, and yeah, screwed it on, bit of hissing, and then it was fine. So yeah, that's obviously what's happened. Water's getting in there, or it's managed to seep up underneath. Seems to be quite a common issue with these failing, sort of you go through puddles, etc., they get splashed, although the underbody protection should prevent that. So I thought we'd see if we can actually just get this apart and have a look at what's inside. I'm thinking probably just nibble away at the outside with a pair of side cutters and see what we get. Right, so I think this is probably going to be the best approach really. Try and get some of this off. It's quite soft-ish. It's breaking away quite nicely. Sure, it's going to make a nice mess. Not quite as easy as I thought it might be to actually get into it. So I think that must be a sort of cast alloy type material. Yeah, that's falling apart. The new sensor is designed differently, so I think they obviously realised that they were having a bit of an issue with these and came up with a slightly better design. That seems to have got us in a little bit. Certainly need to get some more of this off. Let's see if we can break that apart at all. Nope, that sounds quite tough. Alright, so I think I'll use another pair of pliers here to see I've got to say, whatever they've put that on with, it certainly gives me suspicions as to whether or not it was actually leaking on this or not, or if it was just the water getting up on the underside of it. But yeah, it's interesting that these bits are broken off really easily, and yeah, this one is not. It's not going to budge. Right, I think I'm going to have to do that off camera. I shall be back. Well, that wasn't too difficult. Fair bit of brute force, and that's snapped off. So we can see here that we've got our contact points here coming in from our plug that will go on there, and this looks like the rest of the unit. So we've got a little PCB here, and that is no doubt our little pressure sensor. So let's see if we can get the remainder of the plastic off and pull that board out. Alright, so I think we're just going to have to lever that out with something and see if that will pull off. Don't know how corroded this actually is. It's pretty bad so far. And we are off. Okay, so that's interesting. So we've got some kind of ring there. So hopefully you can see that. So this is the sort of back side of where the gas would sort of feed in to this unit. So that looks to me some kind of piece of silicon. I think that must be the actual sensor. I'm not quite sure what actually picks it up. If you look at this, so this obviously fits inside this area here, and that just seems to be this kind of dome shield. It doesn't look to me like there's any sort of real connections to that, but there must be something on the underside, I suppose. I don't know, that seems to be just glued on, but there's no obvious connections to make to this. But yeah, that's interesting. So if any of you guys know exactly what that part is, let us know. But yeah, so that does seem to be completely sealed through from there to the underside. Interesting. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this board here. So there's not a massive amount on it. I was suspecting some kind of control chip of some sort. If it's sending out a pulse width signal, then maybe it's all done by that part that was in there, but I'm not quite sure how it's getting data across from that. But you can see the amount of corrosion on this. It really is heavily corroded, so no wonder it's failed. We've got a few capacitors on there, a couple of resistors. Not really much else on there at all. Yeah, so upon closer examination, you might be able to see, if I get the angle right, little tiny bond wires. So they would obviously were bonded directly to this part, but obviously I've ripped them all off now getting the thing apart, but that's absolutely fine. It was completely had it anyway. So that must be our little pressure sensor device. That may be handling all the communication back as well. I expect it's all done in that one little tiny package there, and then this is obviously just associated circuitry for the power. So there we are. So we can certainly see why it failed now. Yeah, so if you got a similar problem, your econ light's stuck on, then this is where you need to be looking. And yes, I can certainly say on the A3 of sort of 2005, 2006 sort of year, then yes, you can replace it. But yeah, this was so badly corroded, it's I nearly had to sort of get the whole assembly it was attached to replace as well. But luckily enough, I managed to get it off and save the cost of doing that. And if it holds, it holds. If it doesn't, I'll just have to get it replaced at some point. I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and any comments, please leave them in the box below. More than welcome. I do read them all, and I do reply when I can. See you soon for the next video. Cheers.